So the names have been released for the so-called Unity Task Force, which is, basically the supposed Sanders wing of the Democratic Party and the Joe Biden wing of the party coming together to unite to defeat Donald Trump. And some of the people from Bernie's side who were on these task force who agreed to participate were AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the members of the squad, and a congressional representative of New York. She was on the climate task force, along with Varshini Prakash. I could be pronouncing their name wrong. One of the leaders or founders of the Sunrise Movement, the youth movement who's dedicated to fighting climate change. And then there's climate change, healthcare. On the healthcare side, we have Pramila Jayapal, one of the bigger proponents of Medicare for All, also, and a representative from Washington State, congressional representative from Washington State, Dr. Abdul Saeed, former, I believe, I want to say Surgeon General of Michigan, he formerly held some type of public health position within the state of Michigan. He was a big proponent of Bernie Sanders. They're both on the healthcare task force. And then on the there's also one for economic, criminal justice. On the economic side, I believe, Stephanie Melton, something like that. One of the proponents of MMT, modern monetary theories on that, along with, I believe, Sarah Nelson, the president of the flight attendants union. A lot of those people obviously have some pretty decent backgrounds with regards to fighting for things like Medicare for All, Green New Deal, climate justice, economic rights, workers' rights, etc. But I definitely take the perspective that this whole task force is just window dressing. It's a big show. Joe Biden, even if he says he's going to enact some of these things, I don't believe him for 1 second that he will actually do that. I heard one thing online that is supposedly the thing that's going to come out of this healthcare task force, which is not surprising given that it's Joe Biden as the presumptive nominee, is that they're going to recommend lowering the Medicare eligibility age to 55. Whoop-de-fucking-do, Jesus Christ. I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. We're basically the only industrialized or developed country in the world that doesn't guarantee healthcare as a human right, and this is the best this fucking ridiculous task force will probably be able to do, is to come out and say, oh yeah, we came together, we united, and we were proposing the same thing that Hillary did in 2016, even though 70 to 80% of the Democratic base supports Medicare for All, but we're just going to lower it to 55. And it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, unfortunately, the left, the so-called, progressive wing of the Democratic Party, progressives in general, are just weak. They don't know how to wield power. They don't know how to take on power. Once you say that you were going to vote for Joe Biden no matter what, you gave away all your leverage. Same with Bernie. You can't, it's just window dressing. It's fake. It's kabuki theater. Nothing's going to come from this. Joe Biden was interviewed during this pandemic. He said he would veto Medicare for All if it got to his fucking desk. How is this task force going to push him to adopt Medicare for All when we're already hearing that what's going to come from the healthcare task force is they're lowering the Medicare eligibility age to 55. Again, we spend more than any other country in the world on healthcare. We have shitty health outcomes, and 68,000 people die each year because they don't have health insurance. And Joe Biden needs a task force just to lower it to 55, and that's the best we're going to get from it. It's like, AOC, okay, you're a huge proponent of the Green New Deal. You were calling out Biden, I believe, during the campaign for his lackluster position on climate change. Say, no, I'm not going to go on this task force. It's going to give credence and credibility to Joe Biden from me just being on it when I don't support Joe Biden's climate plan. I think we need to go a lot better than just rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. We actually need a Green New Deal to have an habitable planet to live on. Until Joe Biden agrees to support the Green New Deal, I'm not going to go on this task force. He can kick rocks, he can fuck off, he can go try to start a war, he can go try to, rape other people, allegedly. But it's like, again, just going on this task force, if you're AOC, if you're Jaya Paul, if you're these other people, like, really? Are you that naive? Are you that delusional? Nothing's going to come from it. I would love to be proven wrong, but I mean, again, Bernie had the leverage, he sold out for nothing, and he got this fucking dog shit task force as a result by dropping out, endorsing Joe Biden without getting any type of policy concessions. As people like Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk have pointed out, Bernie Sanders had the support of 30 to 35% of the Democratic Party. Biden's going to need a chunk of those voters to win, but instead of actually wielding that power, Bernie caved in. And so have these other people. I mean, Jesus Christ. The primary is over. It's usually, in the general election, when candidates go more towards the right, towards the center. And it's already been exposed that Joe Biden has these ads or some type of PAC or some type of campaign messaging about how to attract Republicans. So you really think he's going to adopt the Green New Deal? You really think he's going to, advocate for Medicare for all, when during a pandemic, he said if it had gotten to his desk, he would veto it? You really think he's going to come out and support, UBI because we're in the middle of a pandemic? You really think he's going to come out and actually fight, to cancel all student loan debt, all medical debt? I don't know what these people are smoking, honestly, to make them think that Joe Biden's going to, once in office, even if, this task force said I'm gonna adopt a Green New Deal or Medicare for all. He's not gonna do that fucking shit. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is Joe Biden, a career corporatist, neoliberal, who's only been about enriching himself, his cronies, his wealthy donors. They used to call him the senator from MBNA because he would always do the bidding of the credit card industry. The Iraq War, NAFTA, PNTR, bragging about working with segregationists, the sexual assault allegation, this very serious and obvious and sad cognitive decline. The list is long and illustrious of Biden's decades-long record of shafting the working people, warmongering, supporting these horrible free trade agreements. I mean, and to now think that this task force is going to get him to see the light of, having, universal health care in the United States so we don't have people dying or going bankrupt due to our shitty for-profit healthcare system, or to think that he's going to support a Green New Deal so we have an inhabitable planet to live on. I mean, Jesus Christ, give me a break. The left, the so-called progressive, leadership of the Democratic Party is not fit for purpose. They're not willing to stand up and fight and call out bullshit when it happens in real time, and they're, let's join this task force to give some credence and credibility to Joe Biden. And again, Crystal Ball of the Hill Rising TV show, check that out, it's pretty interesting. She made a good point. It's by people like AOC, Jaya Paul, by joining this task force. They've been co-opted. They've been co-opted in the sense that they're not going to call out Biden anymore. They may have been potentially some of his harshest critics. They're not going to do that anymore. They're on the Unity Commission. I mean, the left, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is not, again, it's just not fit for purpose. They're not willing to stand up and do what really matters. They're not willing to speak truth to power. They're not willing to hold Biden's feet to the fire. They're willing to go along to get along. And that, again, obviously that starts with Bernie Sanders completely abdicating any type of real responsibility that he supposedly had to a political revolution by dropping out in the middle of a pandemic when Biden has said he would veto Medicare for all if it somehow passed the House and the Senate. Doesn't support a Green New Deal, doesn't support an emergency UBI, doesn't support canceling all student loan debt, doesn't support ending the wars. And yet Bernie was like, yeah, here's my vote. Anybody that doesn't support you is irresponsible. Again, Bernie was being the irresponsible one by dropping out and endorsing the warmongering corporatist Joe Biden without any type of policy concessions whatsoever. And it's, I mean, again, it doesn't really speak, it speaks volumes, I should say, that, you know, AOC and Jayapal were so ready and willing to give, you know, legitimacy to the task force by being part of it when nothing's going to come from it. They've been co-opted by it. We can't really honestly put as much faith in these people as some people have been, because it just shows that they're, again, willing to go along to get along and not willing to speak truth to power. And that's unfortunate. We need a left who is willing to wield and use power to actually get some shit accomplished instead of just going along to get along. Because if they were really concerned about getting these things done, like a Green New Deal, like Medicare for All, then AOC would be out there again saying Biden can go fuck himself until he comes out and supports a Green New Deal and does it, you know, multiple times, and we actually somewhat believe him. Then I'm not going to join this task force, because it's giving credence to somebody who does not go nearly enough on the issue of climate change. Jayapal with the healthcare. Medicare for all is the floor. Healthcare should be a human right. Until Joe Biden says he supports Medicare for all, I'm not going to join this task force. I mean, it's as simple as that from my perspective. And again, we need to actually start electing so-called progressive members to the House and the Senate who are willing to wield that power, who are willing to make enemies in Washington, D.C., even if it's in the Democratic Party, to actually stand up and fight and get some shit done instead of joining these pointless, ridiculous task force that will accomplish nothing except co-opting the so-called progressives that join them. Those are my thoughts. I would love to hear in the comment sections down below. Peace, much love.